Joining us now from the nation's capital, Tyler Kendall. Tyler, what's on your calendar? What are you focused on in the days ahead?
Yeah, hey, John. Well, we'll be watching for any potential movement when it comes to these framework trade agreements that the White House clearly wants to show forward progress on. And perhaps we could get some indications during dual hearings this week from the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He'll be in front of House Appropriations tomorrow. That's considered to be an oversight hearing. It's going to focus much more on the Treasury Department's mechanics. Questions geared towards the IRS, tax receipts, things like that. But then on Wednesday, that's really going to be more of the blockbuster hearing that we're going to be tracking. It's in front of House Financial Services. It's his annual testimony to Congress, and he will no doubt face those questions about tariffs. But when we look at his Wall Street Journal op-ed from over the weekend, it is clear that we can predict some of the things he's going to say, particularly as he pushes forward that this three-prong approach to their economic agenda when it comes to tariffs, taxes, and deregulation shouldn't be viewed separately, but rather as these interconnecting parts. And I bring that up because while these lawmakers will be grilling him on these tariff plans, it's clear he'll also have some messages for them, particularly when it comes to advancing that reconciliation package, as the White House really wants to see their tax cut agenda done as quickly as possible. Now, later on today, we do have three chances where we could hear from President Trump. The first will be at 1 p.m. Eastern. He is expected to announce, according to reports, that Washington, D.C. will host the 2027 NFL draft. John, not a trade deal, but I guess you could consider that a deal of some other sorts.
Looking forward to that, at least to see the color around that announcement, Tyler. I'm glad you brought up the tax agenda. The Treasury Secretary has said the market is way too focused on tariffs. They need to focus on tax, and deregulation. Scott Bessent has been very clear and adamant that they think they can get more done than just the extension of current policy. But how likely is that when you're up on Capitol Hill talking to lawmakers?
Well, at this point, there are still some big disagreements because we are talking about tax cuts, but we are also talking about the spending cuts that are needed to offset them. And Republicans right now really are raising their concerns about what this could potentially mean for Medicaid. We've been talking about this for months, even as President Trump over the weekend vowed that there will not be any changes to Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security besides for cutting down on waste, fraud, and abuse. But when we look at the numbers, it's really hard to understand how they could accomplish more of these tax priorities without these benefit programs potentially seeing some slashing to their annual budgets. Now, the Treasury Secretary has made clear that of those long list of tax priorities and campaign promises, they are trying to not only make permanent the 2017 tax cut plan, but also zero in on no taxes on tips, overtime pay, and Social Security. As of now, those appear to be those big three priorities that they are trying to also latch on to this bill. We're going to wait and see how lawmakers potentially thread the needle on this one as the White House really does ramp up the pressure and begins to be part of these negotiations. There has been reporting that House Speaker Mike Johnson has asked those committees that oversee most of where this reconciliation package is going to be coming from, particularly House Energy and Commerce, which oversees the budget when it comes to Medicaid, to actually hold off on writing that legislation for this week and then pick it up next week as they start to get more input from this administration on exactly how they want to see this done.
Well, the administration wants to see it done by Memorial Day. Tyler, honestly, how likely is that?
Well, at this point, that's considered to be a very ambitious timeline. We've spoken before about how Senate Majority Leader John Thune has called that aspirational. Scott Bessent has put a July 4th timeline on this, on when he would like to see the final reconciliation bill passed. But I spoke to one senior aide to Senate Republican leadership who said that they do not expect their chamber to really start working on this in earnest until August at the earliest. There is a lot that needs to happen here. But one thing, though, that is clear is that Republicans are really starting to fall in line behind President Trump's agenda, at least on the Senate side. They seem to be more likely to go behind having these bigger tax cuts, whereas the spending fight really seems to be coalescing in the House. So we're going to have to watch those two dynamics, because while House Speaker Mike Johnson wants to see this done by Memorial Day, that means he's really going to have to ramp up his pressure on his members to get a deal done if they want to meet this July 4th timeline.